Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. It's my final Browns post game of the year. I am going on vacation next week, so I will miss my first Browns post game. I apologize, but sometimes you just need to unplug, right? So I will not be here for the final home game against the Dolphins. I'll be back for the final game of the regular season last week of the year against Baltimore. But and we got one more show before the end of the year. One more podcast tomorrow. Dustin and I will be live at 2. But for now, we recap yet another Browns loss. And if you're not using the BetRivers app, you should be. This week, I tweeted out my best bets that we post, all the hosts on BetRivers. I've been absolutely sizzling hot, hitting at almost 65 or over 75% or approaching 75% since I believe it's week 8. And it looks like I'm going to do it again better than that because I think I'm going 4-1 on my picks this week. If Washington covers the 3.5, and that's I think Philadelphia just took a lead in that game. Let's see, 30-28 Washington with the ball. So we'll see. If Washington covers, then I'll be 4-1 this week. And I did have the Bengals covering. I will say this: when you look at this game from a defensive standpoint, the defense did not look good early. The Bengals were marching the ball up and down the field in the first half, but the defense played great in the second half. Not that that's good enough. And listen, Joe Burrow didn't have a monster game. I mean, for him, he didn't have a monster game. He still had 252 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, but not a monster game for him. So I thought the defense, again, did a decent job. Great in the second half. That last touchdown, the game was over anyway. DTR, I'll say this about DTR. He made some plays in the second half. Did a good job using his legs. 9 carries, 49 yards. He's still pretty young, obviously. Just 25 years old. Just turned 25 last month. And he's a raw prospect, and he hasn't played enough to completely write him off. That would be unfair to 100% write him off in his career. He's only thrown 100. Well, before today, he'd thrown 146 passes, and he threw 24 today. So he's less than 200 passes in his career. At this point, I've seen absolutely nothing. First of all, it's very rare that a guy who's a 5th-round pick at quarterback becomes any good. The list, obviously some famous guys that have been drafted 5th round or later that have been good, but not many. It's pretty unusual. Usually guys drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round aren't starters in the NFL. If anything, they're backups. But what I've seen of DTR so far and what I saw of DTR today was not impressive. He did not look like an NFL quarterback to me. Again, I with the caveat that he hasn't played enough and that he's very raw. But this is a Bengals defense that I said this week that they had played a little better the last couple of weeks, but they were still top 5 worst defenses in the league. And DTR looked pretty much terrible in this game. I know he dinked and dunked his way down the field a couple times in the second half, and like I said earlier, he made a good play. He made some good plays with his legs, got some first downs, made a couple of decent throws down the field, but nothing really. I mean, he averaged 4.5 yards per attempt. Almost everything was within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Part of that was their inability to hold up, but part of that is just DTR doesn't see the field. Bengals got 5 sacks. I mean, they only had 25 going into the game. They have no pass rush besides Trey Hendrickson, and they got 4. The Bengals had 12.5 sacks from everybody not named Trey Hendrickson in their first 14 games, and today they had 4. So that's kind of tells you how bad the Browns' offense is. Jerome Ford had that great run early, the 66-yarder, before the fumble eventually by Deontay Foreman, who I don't think we saw after that. But, Ford had it. Even in his other 10 carries, let's see, 26 yards, that's not really good. So he didn't do much besides that, but that was a nice big run there. He's not, he did that a bunch of times last year. He did it last week. Not much in the passing game. It was the first nothing game for Jerry Jeudy in a while. Only targeted 3 times. Jerome Ford had a total of 131 yards on 16 touches between rushing and receiving, and that was about it. David Njoku caught 8 of 10 targets for 66. Not much of anything. The only touchdown was the run by Ford in the third quarter. The Browns then missed an extra point. They threw 2 touchdowns in the interceptions in the red zone. What can I say? DTR's thrown 5 picks. He's thrown 5 picks in 68 passes this season. He has thrown 5 picks and no touchdowns. He's not very good. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. The Browns need a long-term answer at the position. I'm 99.9% certain it's not DTR. I don't know if anybody was coming into this game thinking it might be. But if you had any, we had a discussion this week about, I think I said with Dustin on the show here on Thursday, what would DTR have to do to put him in contention for the starting quarterback job next year, knowing that, he was unlikely to do it, whatever you were going to say that he has to do. And we talked about if he had a 300-yard game, throw a bunch of touchdowns, and he's just not going to do that. They're not playing great defensive teams either. Again, the Bengals defense stinks, and they scored 6 points against them. Next week, you're playing the Dolphins. The week after that, the Ravens. Ravens looked really good yesterday against Pittsburgh, obviously. So, the offense stinks. I mean, what can you say? They couldn't block on the line. They couldn't do anything down the field. The offense looked today like it did with Deshaun Watson. But even worse, really, because the only good thing you could say about Deshaun Watson is he didn't turn the ball over much, whereas DTR has thrown 5 picks again. 5 picks in 68 pass attempts. This is bad. And he's thrown 180 NFL passes, has 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions. It's ugly. It's ugly, but what are you going to do? If you're thinking about from a draft perspective, I was saying to the guys, I think the Browns have the 3rd pick at the moment, but not the 3rd. I said I was going to talk about it because it's kind of a little confusing, but I decided to do it anyway. So at the moment, the Browns have the 4th pick in the draft at the moment. If Carolina loses, Carolina had a good lead on Arizona. Arizona tied it at the end of regulation. You kind of want Arizona to win because if Carolina loses, they'll move ahead of the Browns in terms of draft picks. So will New England if they lose today. Jacksonville, I'm not sure. Their strength of schedule is only slightly worse than the Browns. And they're playing they're playing the Raiders, so it'll just go down. So yeah, if the Jags and the Patriots lose, the Browns will fall behind them. But it looked like at least one team would hop ahead because Carolina was playing well and they had the lead, but they blew it late in the game, and in overtime now they're looking at they're about to punt back to Arizona. So we'll see, as Bryce Young was just sacked on a 3rd down play. That's really what we've come to now. I mean, we're in off-season mode. I'm sure you heard on the TV broadcast today, Aditi Kinkabwala, regular guest on UCSS, she's been on the podcast, obviously, a number of times. She said from the sideline reporting today in Cincinnati that she spoke to Jimmy Haslam before the game and that Jimmy Haslam is happy. He's happy about the situation. Well, not happy. I shouldn't say that. He's happy with his coach and his GM. He's not happy with the situation. So it sounds like, as of right now, that the Browns are just going to stick with what they've got. That they're going to stick with the same coach, stick with the GM. Last year, they won 12 games, and they made wholesale changes to the coaching staff, which made no sense. This year, they may not make any changes. So, I mean, make of that what you will. I don't know why they overhauled the offense staff this past season. It made no sense. And now they may do nothing this year coming off a season, their worst season since 2017. Yes, we are back into those days. This is the Browns' worst season. It's Kevin Stefanski's worst season. He's won at least 7 games every year so far. 11, 8, 7, 11 for Kevin Stefanski. And this year they're going to win probably 3. Max of 5. Either way, at 3-12, it's their most losses since 2017. Remember, of course, that was a 3-year stretch. 2015 to 2016, 2017, where they won 3, 1, and 0. Still hard to believe. But 4 wins in a 48-game stretch from 2015 to 20. It's actually longer than that. Because in 2014, they lost their last 5 games. So it's 4 wins in a 53-game stretch. And then in 2018, they had a tie and a loss. So let's see, 53, 4, 50 and 1. Man, they went 4, 50 and 1, the Browns, from late in the 14 season through week 2 of the 18 season. 4 wins, 50 losses, 1 tie. And since then, 7, 8, 1, 6 and 10, 11 and 5, 8 and 9, 7 and 10, 11 and 6. But now back to the doldrums. Their worst point differential again since 2017. The defense again has been okay. It's been. I thought they played well in the second half, considering the opponent. I thought they played pretty well today. Defense has not really been the problem. It hasn't been great. They've given up a lot of big plays. They've made a lot of mistakes. There's been a lot of penalties. Defense has been, overall for the season, I'd say okay. Better lately. Offense, obviously, has been horrible. There's just nothing you could say. Jameis Winston obviously had a few games where he played really well. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Denver. Besides that, the quarterback play has been dreadful between Watson, DTR, and Winston outside of those 3 Jameis Winston games. It does appear that Kevin Stefanski, as I said, will keep his job. But if he does, and if Andrew Berry does, you got to believe they're going into next season on the hot seat. I don't see how it could be any other way. Let's see. Smack says the Browns will screw up the draft. Fair. Divinity Evil says I'm not going to miss anything next week, missing the postgame for the first time. William Snodgrass, Browns should draft the 2 linebackers from Ohio State, Jack Sawyer, and 44. Make a good, strong defense with Myles Garrett, then fill in the pieces. You're going to draft 2 linebackers? Okay. They got, I don't know. We'll see what JOK status is for next season. Jim Harold, good draft position doesn't matter if the same people are picking the players. I think that's fair. I've continuously said I'd fire Andrew Berry. William Snodgrass says JOK should retire. We can't be in the business of telling other people to retire. Jim says, I was for keeping Kevin, but after this bullshit game and deciding to put DTR in there, I would axe them all. I mean, what were they going to do at this point? Jameis hadn't been playing well. I got no problem. Yeah, you can't. I'm not blaming Kevin for playing DTR, even though this seemed inevitable that he was going to play like this. Bruce, DTR is not good, not worth a roster spot. Maybe true. Smacks, DTR not even a suitable backup. To this point, he's not. You're right. And now, I don't think it's fair to completely write him off after this small sample size, but he doesn't seem worthy of giving a bigger sample size to. Dave says, biggest need for the Browns is to have a clue how to run a pro football organization. Starts at the top and works down. Alex says, Berry sucks. Z says, bull for Browns GM. That's fair. Mark K, I'm glad they played DTR. Could have won with Watson in her draft position. With Winston, sorry. Couldn't win with Watson. The Alaskan dude. How about Mobley last night? I'll tell you. Let's talk about the Cavs for a second. I'll get right back to the Browns, but I do want to talk about the Cavs for a second. But before I do that, let me give you this bit of information. BetRivers Square is going on right now. Players can play same-game parlays on college football and NFL games to earn squares. Our exclusive Squares game offers additional chances at profit boost, bonus bets, and many $10,000 jackpots. For more info, check out BetRivers.com or go to the BetRivers app. Let's see if we've got wow, the Commanders just got a 9-yard touchdown pass from Jaden Daniels with 6 seconds left. Then they got the 2-point conversion. They lead the Eagles 36-33. Cardinals and Panthers in overtime with 5:30 to go. Wow. I'm going 4-1 on my picks, baby. I hope you pick the games with me because I'm killing it. You should be there with me. Killing it, baby. Like to see the Cardinals lose to the Panthers and help the Browns draft. Well, let's talk about the Cavs for a second, even though it's the Browns post game. Cavs are playing great. They have the best record in the NBA. They are 25-4. Second best record is Oklahoma City at 22-5. Celtics at 22-6. Cavs have a 2.5 game lead for the top spot in the East over Boston. Obviously, we got a long way to go. We're at about the 38% mark, 37% mark of the NBA season. Cavs won both games Friday and Saturday night. They'll play again tomorrow. Evan Mobley, just sensational in what's been a massive breakout campaign. And he's having an all-star caliber season. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Came fairly close. If this was a more reasonable game, maybe he gets a triple-double. 27 points. Not 27. 22 points on 10 of 14 shooting. Although he shot badly on the line. That was weird. 1 of 5 from the line. 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and only 1 turnover. He was fantastic. Sadly, we got to leave it there for now. We will talk about it a little bit later and a little bit tomorrow. And the Cardinals are about to punt back to the Panthers. Even a tie, even if that game ends in a tie, it benefits the Browns in terms of a draft pick. Where do the Browns go from here in their last 2 games? Myles Garrett, one of the bright spots here, got his 100th sack. You wonder if he shuts it down now to try to get healthy. I don't know if he's going to need surgery. He's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year. You're not going to have a player on a 3-win team win Defensive Player of the Year. Browns, Myles Garrett had 1 sack and another tackle for a loss. Devin Bush, I thought, played pretty well. The linebackers, I thought, all did a pretty decent job in this game. The Bengals were gashing them with the run early, and then they kind of settled down as the game went on. And again, I thought the defense played well in the second half. But you can't just play well for a half. It's not good enough. And now the Browns will play Miami in the final home game next week. Be interested to see what the point spread will be on that game. The Browns will. I mean, the Dolphins aren't playing great, but I got to think that the Dolphins would still be favorites in this game. Dolphins are a 1.5-point home favorite against the Niners this afternoon. So I don't know. We'll see. But for those of you who are Baker Mayfield obsessed, Sunday Night Football, Buccaneers a 3.5-point favorite. It's a big game. Remember, the Falcons have the tiebreaker in the NFC South. And the Falcons won easily today. So the Falcons are 8-7. So if the Buccaneers lose, I don't think they will to Dallas, but if they lose any of their final 3 games, they could be in trouble. They're at Dallas, then the Panthers at home. Obviously, the Panthers have been a lot better lately, and then the Saints at home. So they got 2 out of 3 at home. The Falcons, I think they've got a pretty easy schedule left too. I don't know if they have a tough game. Oh, they do have a tough game. Yeah, they're at the Commanders next week. That'll be very tricky. And then they got the Panthers at home. So the Buccaneers still have the advantage, especially if they win today. We'll see how that comes about. But it's a big game for the Buccaneers. Baker's got to take care of business. And then he's got home games after that. All right, thanks, everybody, for joining me, as always. You know what? Let me read a few more chats here before we go. I want to give everybody their due time. Let's see. And then we'll wrap it up. Scott says, jumped up 2 spots in the draft. Not only because other games aren't finished. You'll jump ahead of Carolina if Carolina wins or ties. BK Brown, Winston, DTR at time in the pocket. Watson had no time with drops and penalties. I'm a liar and an idiot. Oh, stop it. I can't believe there's still Watson apologists, and I'm the idiot. How did it become my fault that Deshaun Watson is the worst quarterback in football? I don't know. I don't get it. Michael, would you draft the quarterback at Clemson in the second round? I don't know enough about him. I'm not going to be a phony. Smish says Watson blows. That's true. Krusty getting 3rd or 4th pick in the draft, certainly possible, but if New England and Raiders lose out, they will not. G Turk, DW4 blows. That's fair. Guitarro, it's insane that Kenny Pickett was drafted in the first round, yet it is. Yes, it is. And Johnny Manziel and Brandon Wheaton, who I liked, and Josh Rosen. A lot of people that were bad that were drafted in the first round. Gary says time to retire the Browns' names and colors. And Smish says it's been retired since 99. East Cleveland Youth Football. Glad OSU won. I'm down in Tennessee. Couldn't even watch the Browns. Yeah, nice win by the Buckeyes. They played really well in that game. They dominated Tennessee for the most part. Give them credit. See if Ryan Day can win on the road next week to maybe save his job. Anon, I never thought I would say this, but I give up. I'm done as a fan, at least until Haslam sells. I understand that feeling now, but come on, you're full of it. You'll be back. Brian says, the way it seems is either Miles gets traded or nobody gets fired, and next year is worse thanks to no rebuild. Paul says, no. East Cleveland says trade Miles and Ward and just rebuild. Atlanta, Dave, this team is garbage from management on down. That's fair. Dave, Bull would usually be bashing the Browns, but because the Bengals won, he's trying to sugarcoat. I'm not trying to sugarcoat. What can I say? I just told you the quarterback stinks, the offense stinks. I mean, what else can I say? I'm not going to kill the defense. I expected the Browns to lose by double digits. I picked them to lose 37-7. They lost 24-6. What do you want me to say? I'm not gonna go bananas. I go bananas when I go bananas. I don't go bananas just to go bananas. I don't do it. It's not fake. I don't even like the way the Bengals played. I don't like their coach. Nothing. Smish says Whedon was 63 when we drafted him. Atlanta Dave can't trust the regime to do anything good. Oh, the Panthers won, huh? Good. Nice. All right, so the Browns have moved up a little bit in the draft. How'd they score their final touchdown there? Chuba Hubbard. All right, so updated for what it's worth. As of this moment, and again, the Raiders, the Patriots, and the Jags have not played yet. I say the Raiders because if the Raiders win, they'd be tied with the Browns, and they actually have a tougher strength of schedule. So the Browns could hop them too. But probably, let's see, the Raiders are playing the Jags. Yeah, so whoever wins that game will be behind the Browns. So we'll assume the Patriots lose, right? Who are they playing? They're playing at the Bills. Oh, the Patriots going to lose. All right, so assuming the Bills lose, the Browns, assuming the Patriots lose, the Browns will pick behind the Patriots. They'll pick behind the Titans. That's 2. They'll pick behind the Giants. That's 3. And they'll pick behind the winner or the loser of the Jags-Raiders game. So the Browns will move up 2 spots, yeah, with the Patriots winning. Because they're going to hop over the Patriots and they're going to hop over the Raiders-Jacksonville winner. So the Browns will be up to the 5th pick in the draft. So they'll break into the top 5. Unless, no, I was going to say if there's a tie, but if there's a tie, they'll still be ahead of Jacksonville in the draft pick standing. So there you go. All right, thanks. Roderick says, Bull and your crew is all at fault for the Browns' collapse. Why am I at fault? Thomas Latimer, Bengals coach, is so bad. You're right. Guitarro Man, if the Browns had a quarterback half as good as Burrow, they'd be in the hunt. It'd be more than half. Anyway, that's it. Anonymous, Bull used to be in New York. What happened? I moved to Cleveland. I took a job here. That's going to do it. We will talk to you again tomorrow. Dustin joins me, the final Bull and Fox edition of the Bullpen tomorrow. Join me live at 2. We'll get Dustin's thoughts on the game. I'll be on UCSS tomorrow and Tuesday as well. And then I'm off till the day after New Year's Day. So everybody, if I don't speak to you, have a great Merry Christmas and a happy holiday and a happy New Year. But I'll be, like I said, tomorrow at 2 p.m. live with Dustin. Thanks to Max and Z for producing. Talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. See you, everybody.